Hey, girlfriend.
Hey, girlfriend.
Hello, you lovelies out there. We are so excited. We are coming today for a live discussion of love and what it means to us as middle-aged women, as girlfriends of a certain age. We're going It means, and maybe you can relate if you are another girlfriend of a certain age. So I am so excited to just jump right in. It's, around the day of Valentine's. You may love it, you may hate it. Let's like kind of put it all out there on the
It
table.
can be a little complicated.
It's complicated. It is so complicated.
Yeah.
So let's talk. And I want to toss the ball to you first and just ask,
Mm.
what are you feeling, girlfriend, about love at this stage of life?
Oh my God.
Just a small question.
Just a little
Just
question.
a little question.
So the first thing that happens is like there's like a lump in the throat, and I already feel emotional. So when you and I talked about this topic, the Grammys had just happened, and that Joni Mitchell song of Both Sides Now, which was playing on repeat, before that was like really a thing in my childhood. My
Oh,
parents were listening to that song. I remember my music teacher, even in elementary school, had us singing it. And even as a child, like feeling emotional, it's an emotional song.
oh,
Watching that queen make her return to the stage in
yes.
her throne. But I was listening to the words, I've
Mm.
looked at love from both. I'm gonna cry
Oh,
from both sides now. And like I feel like I make it this teeter-totter point in
yes.
my life. It's truly a midpoint. As
Yes.
my 12-year-old likes to remind me, you're halfway through life, mom. If you
Mhm.
live to be 100, you're half done. I'm like,
Wow.
yeah,
Yeah.
but love is different for me at this stage of life.
Mm.
I can't deny it.
Oh, it's real. That's the honest truth.
Yeah.
Love changes as we
Yeah,
change.
so much of my life I was chasing love. Do
Yes.
you love me? Am I good enough? Am I enough? Am I pretty enough? Am I this enough? Am I
Oh my
all the
God.
things about identity and
Yes.
self-love, which turns
Mm.
out everybody was right. It's from us, it's from within.
That's right.
So something about that Joni Mitchell song, and it
Mm.
got you too, you said.
Oh, absolutely. It
Yeah.
absolutely got me. And it's so funny that we were riffing on this. We're like the Grammys, like current culture, because there was one other brief moment from the Grammys that really got me. And I just watched it on replay, but it was the Tracy Chapman song,
Mm.
Fast Car, and this new cover of it from this young country guy. And there was a little controversy around the song because her song never made it to the top of the country charts, but then Luke Combs sings it, this young white guy, and suddenly it's number one, and it was a whole thing. But their sort of beautiful relationship when they performed it live at the Grammys,
So touching.
so touching, and his adoration for her and this just kind of beautiful musical mentorship love story uh just like totally moved me, so that got me
Mm.
crying as well. And
Yeah.
yes, the Joni Mitchell live performance and that song, Both Sides Now, I really feel it in my bones. And girl, I was like you, I think it's our recovering people pleaser. Like, I'm also a recovering romantic.
Oh, oh.
I was thinking, I was meditating
Yes.
on, right? And we really grew up in like rom-com, and I'll even like going back to like complicated movies like 16 Candles. Like, where is my Jake showing up with like the cake or
Mm.
say anything? Like, where is the guy holding the music, boombox? Do those even exist anymore out in my yard, right? I would have died for something like that,
Mm.
kind of like you, to validate my feelings that I am enough, that I am worthy of love, and that it should be this sort of like big gesture professed love. And I do think that part of that is being younger,
Mm.
right? Like I see with my sons, there's like these really cute rituals going on right now. There's candy grams at
Oh.
school. A couple of my vocal students are singing like songrams for people at their schools because they're
Oh.
part of their like little a cappella groups.
Oh my
So you could
gosh.
like buy a love song for someone. And I don't know about you, but I
My
know
10 or 12-year-old is like, yes,
I mean,
please.
right?
And then when you don't get it, you're just like,
Well, I remember my friends at Berkeley High, we caught on to that and we're like, let's just get them for each other, if nothing else.
oh yeah.
Right. Which then like kind of opens up that whole other discussion around, the friend love and the girlfriend love, which I really, really want to get to as well. So I'm seeing this really innocent love blooming with the candy grams. There's going to be a Valentine's Day dance at my middle schooler's school. It's like hilarious. He's still on the fence. I'm like, are you going? Are you going? So here they are getting introduced to all of the things. And I was like, you girl, I was just like, love me, show me some grand gesture. And I think now what I feel so comfortable with my husband feeling like is we've been through the grand gestures. Like we've done the quote romantic thing. Now it's like, let's just do what we're in the mood to do today. And really show up for each other more on a daily basis.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Like it's the small day-to-day love gestures that mean so much more to me than some grand holiday,
And then, but for some reason, it took us forever to get to that point.
It took us forever.
I've been with my husband over 20 years.
Samesies.
Yeah.
Same.
And it's a relatively recent, I mean, we kind of gave up Valentine's Day. I remember we went out to dinner in Berkeley one time, Valentine's Day night.
Oh, wow.
One of these fixed price meals. And he's, I'm going to splurge. We're going to go for it and do all the things. And we love going out to eat.
Yeah.
It was a miserable night. The service was bad. The included champagne was like really like
janky.
Your throat. We're like, what is this beverage? And we realized this is overpriced and terrible. Wait, I love you. I love you.
Yeah.
But this doesn't feel like love. This feels like it feels performative.
Performative, forced.
And we're sitting in this room with a bunch of other people performing for themselves, for each other, for Instagram. Who knows what they were doing it for? For both of us, it just completely switched.
I love that.
Completely switched. And you're right. It's the daily stuff. It's the
daily.
Yeah.
It's those small little gestures. It's like when my husband brings me a cup of tea in bed, I call it my Downton Abbey moment of my morning because I just get to sit there and look out my window and kind of feel like some fancy lady. And it's just, I love that. And every time he does that, he's kind of giving me love and I, reciprocate by just oohing and eyeing over how much I love that. And like little small gestures that I'll do for him, making his coffee, little things like that.
Yeah.
So I feel you. I feel you so strongly on that. That's a beautiful reference too with both sides now because there's a light and a dark in relationships. There's the good time and the bad times. We were talking in our other episode about the light we carry with Michelle Obama and how honest she was about how you're going to, not get along with your long-term partner for likely years, when you add it all up, that there's going to be strain, there's going to be ups and downs. And so really letting go of that performative pressure and being more real with like, kind of where are we this year? Where are we?
Well, to me, it also speaks to the fact that there's so little modeling of what a healthy long-term relationship looks like.
It's so true.
My husband didn't grow up with one. I sure as hell didn't grow up with one.
I did part 2 with my stepdad. I did.
Yeah.
So I got to witness that, which has been incredible for me. But the first marriage, not so much.
Yeah, you're lucky. Even my mom's take 2. Still, not great.
Yeah.
Not great. So, and my husband and I, there's one couple that we can look to, that we name, of people who've been together for a very long time. And we tell them, we look up to you guys. We look up to you. We admire you. And it's just really beautiful to see. It's very rare. And all the people that I know, I can really name one couple who I really look up to.
Well, I asked my mom yesterday. We were on the phone and I was like, hey, Mom, my next pod, we're going to talk about love. And we're talking about it from a middle life point of view. What about your point of view? She's in her late 70s and my stepdad is in his early 80s. Like, what do you look at it now? And she was really cute because she kind of like went back right to the beginning of, the romance and the hot kind of, time, how that then sort of evens out. And then she brought up how really, in your golden years, roles shift. The partnership that you've kind of had a steady groove might really shift depending on each other's needs, right? So there's been a different kind of caretaking that she's had to step into. but she was so sweet because she said along with that is a real tenderness. It's the kind of like golden hour and looking at your partner and looking at your relationship and going, wow, we've been together a long time. And here we are in this, golden hour. It was so beautiful the way she said it.
Oh,
I know, right?
yeah. Well, and
Mhm.
we're changing, right? Like you're through menopause. I'm still hoping to get there one of these days.
You'll get there. You'll get there, honey. I see it. I see it for you.
I'm almost
I
there.
see it for you too.
Okay. So I can feel those shifts and changes, right? And so the estrogen goes down, testosterone can go up. Women can get harder and a little bit harsher as we age.
Oh, yeah.
And my dear friend David Baker, shout out to David,
Mhm.
reminded me recently, he's like, men go through a kind of menopause too. And I was like, that's a whole other episode
Yeah,
that we
that
could
is.
dip into. And so there is this way that I see my husband getting like more like big papa, like I take care of everybody. And how he loves that. He's really growing into being a king.
Mm.
Shout out to Jacob, bringing the king up in my queendom because it's just so beautiful, right? Like his personality isn't different, but how he's approaching his role, this stage of life, what he wants to be providing. He's talking about that now. Well, as a provider, and I'm like, tell me more about this provider. I love that, but there's that shift and that change too. And so like, it's hard to imagine what that will look or feel like in 10 years.
Right.
When he grows even more into that.
Mhm.
And then what's my feisty business going to be like? I don't know.
Well, the both sides now, I mean, it is so interesting. It's like, I'm so curious, like the crystal ball, right? Like I continue to think about that. Like for Paul and I, it's like, when will we be empty nesters and what will that feel like for us? Right. Because we're such a union around our teen boys. Like it's the center of our universe right now. What is that going to look like? But we don't know. We don't know what it's going to look like in 10 years.
But we've started talking about it. We're like, we only have to live here and like around the school business for 8 more years.
That's right. That's
and
right.
then what?
Right.
I want this, you want that. Maybe we can figure out the way to do both. So we're already like planting those seeds, right, in the busyness because life is ramping up,
right,
on us. I feel it.
Yeah.
But it will be so interesting. And then we have each other.
Exactly. Well, that leads me to the other big thing is one really big shift I notice in middle age, and I think this is such the gift of aging, is that we recognize that one person cannot fill us.
No, cannot be all things.
They cannot be all things. And we really were sold that line. We really were through all kinds of different things, from the fairy tales to the stories. And, shout out to so many new narratives around that are like really challenging that. But I think you and I from Gen X definitely grew up feeling that way, right? So I really value my girlfriends like you and my other dear friends. I really value my other family members and my intimate, close relationships with them. I value my creative community who I get to be creative with. Those people all give me something different that I could never get from one person. And I really feel bad for Paul because there was a time where I was trying to get everything out of this one person.
I know about that.
Right? And by the way, for men, it's apparently even worse because as women age, this is just statistically, they tend to hold on to their intimate relationships. Men are having less and less intimate. I mean, when I say intimate, I mean like close friendship, intimate friendships. They're on a whole having less and less of these. And the way I at least see it play out is many older men really don't have a social network beyond their mate. And that's not healthy for them or their mate. So I think that it's a great thing to model, back to your point of, yes, have a romantic, healthy, well-balanced relationship. Also have a kick-ass, incredible community because you're going to need that. You're going to need that both individually and as a couple.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I mean, that can't be stated enough. And, we've talked about this before, but statistically, it's going to be the ladies hanging out on our rocking chairs, you know, our men just have traditionally not lived as long as women. And
Mhm.
now, you know, with all these medical advances that we're having, I expect to live a very long life. I
Mhm.
sure hope my husband's there with me.
Mhm.
But statistically, we know it's going to
Mhm.
be the ladies.
Mhm. And what
Mm-hmm.
does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
And what will that look like? And it's a good reminder too to make sure that we're like kind of considering things down the road, to make sure that we are taken care of, right? So hard conversations to have, maybe you don't pull that out on Valentine's Day. So when you die, just wanted to make sure that we're all
I
set up.
know the passwords.
Yeah, right, right. Where are all those passwords? Yeah. Oh, it's like real stuff. It's real talk, and how that's
Mhm.
also important for us.
And that's also part of love, is like setting each other up for success if
Yeah.
we're not there. Like, what would the social network be for our husbands if something were to happen to us? You know, and I know other people who, who are, past retirement and
Mhm.
questioning these things for themselves too,
Yeah.
and it is part of that arc of love. And I guess I just didn't expect to feel that it would feel so different. And I think part of it
Mm.
too is this work that you and I are doing around the recovering good girl piece. Because the more
Yeah.
boundaries I have, the
Mhm.
more clean my love is for the ones I really love.
It's so
And
true.
I'm not the energy that I was spending
Yes.
with people who were not a match for me, whether it
Right.
was emotional or I just plain didn't like them, or they just plain didn't like me, but I was
Yeah.
trying to make them like me, or whatever
Yeah.
the thing is. I let all that go, I had more energy for my people
Oh, I love that. It's
who I
like,
do want to be invested
right.
in.
Well, it's like that great MO that we tell to each other, like, is it a hell yes? Are they a hell yes? Because if they're not,
What are we
right?
doing?
What are we doing? What are we doing? We're middle aged now. We don't have endless time to waste.
Time for this shit.
Right. We don't.
Yeah.
So it's really true that, like, it's gotta be meaningful. It's gotta matter. And I also think that that really speaks to our own authenticity, that we are really trying to show up more fully, right? As a recovering people pleaser, we are really trying to be more honest with who we are, faults and all, right? And so I think we're going to be attracted to other people who feel genuine.
Mm.
And I do think that that is what I really am appreciating in my loving relationships right now, is how can we really be genuine with one another, right? And sometimes the best way you can love someone is to say, I can't, or another time, or whatever that is. So for some of you who are going through some things, or who are alone, genuinely being yourself and showing up for the people you love in life is like the Valentine's Day that keeps on giving all year round. Because I just do feel like every time I do that as a recovering people pleaser, recovering good girl, and I really am honest with who I am and putting my full self out there, it gives me an opportunity to make the kind of genuine connections that I've always been seeking.
Mm. Absolutely. Well, and you're bringing up something I think needs to be said out loud, because
Yeah.
Valentine's Day, that season can be so complicated
Oh
for our
yeah.
girlfriends of a certain age who do feel alone or who do feel lonely. And we know what an epidemic this is. I know a lot of married people who feel hella lonely.
Oh my God, totally. Because we never merge the way the fantasy happens, right? We're
Mm,
still ourselves.
yeah.
We're still ourselves. But yes, a lot of couples either,
Mhm.
married or feel estranged a little bit. Yeah.
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 And so I just feel like too, one of the things that I think a lot about is when I feel that way, when I'm feeling disconnected,
Mm,
the first thing I want to do is go help somebody else.
mm,
And so I just feel called to remind our girlfriends that if the story is not what you were sold, or you're
mhm.
not feeling satisfied or fulfilled in some way, to go and find a way to provide that for somebody else, whether it's serving food at a homeless shelter or helping women in domestic abuse situations. I'm just throwing out some ideas, but there's so many different ways to help and give back and
Mhm.
support. And that is its own kind of love,
Mm,
being of service in a really clean, authentic way, and
mhm.
helping bring other people up, give them a little bit of comfort or support. So I just, Yeah, I was going to say customer support. I can't think of what it's called, right? Oh, I'm having a midlife brain moment. Okay. Community service. My middle schooler is being asked to do like a lot of community service this year. And
Mm.
I was just talking with him about it, that, I know it's going to be a lot. We're going to roll up our sleeves and it
Mhm.
feels so good.
It does feel really
Didn't
good.
that feel good? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think really sometimes we have to be pushed to do that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. That's a different kind of love and showing up for yourself if you're feeling a little like not connected. And then there's also an interesting way. I mean, there's a real difference, and I want to acknowledge that between feeling disconnected from your partner or significant other because there really is a strain going on, and then this more sort of existential thing that I feel like as we get older, I just start to feel more, which is like, wow, like at the end of the day, we are still alone, right?
Yeah.
There's that beautiful song by Stevie Wonder, They Won't Go When I Go, and it is intense, but it's true. And so we have each other, but we really do need to invest in ourselves so that dependency um is there, but it's like it's not all we have, because getting comfortable with ourselves, getting comfortable with solitude,
Mm.
and to a certain extent, some loneliness is not a bad thing.
Oh gosh, no. No.
No, I really like hanging out with myself now. I really like it. There was a way in my 20s I had to keep chasing that company because just that sort of being by myself didn't quite sit well. Now it really feels like it sits well.
Mm.
And that is self-love.
Exactly. Ding, ding, ding. In all of its forms.
Yeah.
In all of its forms. I think even like sexually, even that putting the pressure on somebody else to satisfy us.
Oh, right.
I think there's a lot of pressure on us, a lot of pressure on our partner, or partners, whatever your
Mhm.
story is. And I think that there's something so powerful about
Mhm.
filling up your own body
Mm.
with flooding your brain with oxytocin and the nitric acid that relaxes the blood vessels. And I mean, I talk about this all the time.
Yeah.
I just think masturbation needs to be like required activity
Yeah.
for everybody.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it's been such a lockdown.
Mm.
Small children are told they're going to grow hair on their hands or whatever weird, superstitious religious organizations put on people
Mm.
because they know how powerful it is.
Right.
If you're taking care of yourself and
Yeah.
like really feeling yourself, you
Yeah.
take that any way you want,
Yeah.
that makes you hard to control.
It does. It does. And it's so empowering,
It's
and
so empowering.
you'll know what pleases yourself,
Mhm.
and then you can help show your partner or partners what pleases you, and you can share that with
Yeah,
them, or just continue to please yourself. And those can be two different
exactly.
kinds of
Totally
intimacy.
different things.
Yeah.
And I mean, so I love talking about masturbation. That's just like my
I know. I love that.
funny thing.
I love that.
Well, and it's kind of later in life that I'm like, why
Mm.
aren't we talking about it more?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I was quietly reading books about it and other women talking about the empowerment of
Mm.
it. And yeah, we all need to just
Well,
wave our freak
we need
flags,
to wave our freak
whatever they
flags.
are.
I think younger women are talking about it a lot more, but in
Mm.
our generation, it was like the boys did that and it
Right.
was kind of acceptable, and the
But
girls
also kind of gross.
a little, right, a little considered gross, but girls were not talking about
Girls
doing
were
that.
not talking about doing
No,
that.
no.
Absolutely not. And that's just one form of self-care and self-love. And so I think there's so much we can be doing around having good boundaries and like
Mhm.
just treating ourselves with kindness. I think too many people punish themselves. They don't call it that, but
Mm.
like getting overextended financially or not finding a new job when their job makes them miserable. I just think there are lots of little things that we do to ourselves
Mm.
that are so unloving and
Yes.
just make this base carpet level of ourselves that are just like old and old fashioned
Mhm.
and unalive.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that made any sense. In my mind, that sounds like a word salad, but hopefully that what I'm trying to convey is that there were so many ways that we can be loving ourselves in a really gentle.
And I mean, as cliche as it is, it's so true that you really do have to love yourself before you can allow other people to love you. You
Mhm.
really have to be comfortable enough with yourself to to accept yourself, because then you can accept others. And the beautiful thing I found is the more I've been able to accept my full self, the good, the bad, the hard, I'm much better at accepting others and accepting my partner and accepting my family members, and they do that thing and it drives me crazy. And it's like, oh yeah, I have that thing that drives someone else crazy. Like we all have the things. And that is such a beautiful acceptance, which then I think does allow for our bodies to flood ourselves with more good feelings, right? We're not hiding, we're not repressing certain things and only letting certain things out. I mean, back to your word about the Valentine's Day dinner and the performative, there's kind of a performative self-love, and we see it and we read it, but like what does that really actually mean for you, right? It may not be a bubble bath. It may be going out and walking in the city, in the heart of like the buzz. Like maybe that's what you want and need and desire. So it can mean a lot of different things. It doesn't have to be the cliche stuff. Well, I love it. I feel like we covered our self-love and our intimate love. And I'll say I have one other tradition, and I really love this. Because I have two sons, I always felt like it was really, really important to show them that mommy and daddy have date nights and that we go out on Valentine's Day, but we don't really either. We also we go around Valentine's Day, but we don't
You don't do the night nonsense.
No, Paul thinks it's, just a BS holiday anyways, but I'm like, let's just go out another night and like not have that goofy pressure with the weird champagne and all that and get charged double or whatever, right? But as well, I always like to have like a family with my boys Valentine's night. We like make something special. Usually Paul grills like some beautiful salmon or something. I get like a nice dessert, and we kind of are training them to show them like this is a way you can celebrate love, like through food, through being with each other. Just to kind of give them a little sense of bringing them into the fold, that it doesn't have to be the super exclusive thing that just moms and dads or partners do.
I like that a lot. Can I take that?
Absolutely. And truthfully, when they were really little, it was literally grabbing burritos and going up to the wedding site where we got married, which is in the Redwoods, and just like running around. And as they've gotten older, we've like made it a little bit fancier, and I put out a tablecloth, and it's just to give them a sense of what this is. And I feel like especially as boys and young men, we're really showing them what at least one style that you could do to give them a sense of it.
I like that a lot.
Please do.
I think my kids do feel excluded. Like when we go out for a nice dinner, how come we don't get the nice meal? You take us out for pizza and burgers, like, that's all you want.
Right,
oh,
dude.
That's a good point. We would take them to the fancy restaurant. They'd be like, can we just have noodles with butter?
Oh my God. My boys would be like, another course? How long is this thing? They like to eat and bounce. They would be so over it. Yeah.
Yeah. No 3-hour meals.
No,
down, not a restaurant where they just sit still. I don't think it's happening.
Right. But you could do the more family friendly version of whatever
I've been doing like a little breakfast thing, but I love, we do have something we call family date night.
That's really
cute. But I've
cute.
never tied it in with Valentine's Day.
Yeah. Oh, well, I love the family date night idea. That's still the same idea.
Same idea. Yeah. But I like what you do on Valentine's Day. I'm going to take that too. Well, this was good.
This was great. I'm feeling the love, and I'm feeling it in like a real heartfelt way. So let's just remind our, people pleaser lovies out there that if you're feeling a little bit of the mixed pressure, the weird kind of mixed vibe that sometimes Valentine's Day can frankly feel really depressing, just know that that's like this weird pressure, and you don't have to buy it. You don't. You can make that day whatever you want, and it can be nothing at all if that's what you need this year. So I just say, reinvent it the way you want to have it for yourself. Keep tuning in to what feels good for you, and express to the people in your life what you're calling in so that they can be on board with that.
I love that.
I love that too.
And I love you.
I love you, girlfriend of a certain
Valentine's
age.
Day. And it's our birthday month. There's just like lots of loving, exciting, and
should we make a little?
Someone's turning 50.
That's after Valentine's Day.
It is, but still, it's the birthday month, so
It's the birthday month. It's a lot.
It's starting.
It's a lot of feelings right now. Okay.
Fair enough.
All our love. Woo. Hello. On that note, the sun's shining through.
Wow.
Wow.
Okay, it's time to say goodbye.
Okay. Bye.